Welcome to Colt Express, a board game set in the old Wild West. Okay, so I think Colt Express is amazing because it's a board game like no other, because rather than using a board, it uses a miniature train. So the train increases in length for the number of players. By that I mean you have a two-player game, which is the minimum requirements to play the game, and for every additional player it's an additional carriage up to 6 players. So it's fantastic. You get to play with a cardboard train with your kids and try to make out you're still an adult. It's brilliant. So this is your board. This is the board of Colt Express. So I'm going to use 4 carriages for this demonstration, and it also comes with cardboard cutouts of cactuses and mountains, things like that, which you don't need to play the game, but it looks cool to dress up your table to make it look like it is indeed the Old West. So, Colt Express, what's the mission? Well, the mission is to get as much loot as possible. The person with the most loot wins. It's that simple. So, what you do is you pick a character, and each character is different, and each character has a colour, like so, apart from the yellow one. The yellow one is the sheriff, which we'll get to in a minute. So I'll put that little sheriff meeple in there. So each character has a unique ability. So, for example, we have, knock over the meeples, we have Ghost, we have Belle, we have Cheyenne, we have Django, we have Tuco, and we have the Doc. So each character, like I said, has a different ability. So for example, the Doc, rather than pulling 6 cards like everybody else, actually pulls 7. Doesn't sound terribly important, but it is. It gives you a better chance of getting that card that you want to get at the exact moment. So, better chance, I didn't say it's a definite thing, because me and luck, yeah, right. So then we have Django, for example. So Django's ability here is whenever he shoots somebody, he knocks them back a carriage. So, for example, this is Django, and if I was shooting Tuco over here, for example, I can then knock them back a carriage. So be a bit careful where you knock them back, because you don't really want to knock them towards the front, because in each carriage, when they are placed, you'll find a little number in each one. So that number has, icon even, has either a pouch, so a pouch is this, with a number on the back. So you place them face down so you don't get to see the numbers, so you have no idea what the numerical value is until you nab that, and then end the game, you then total up to see who's got the most. And the same with the gems. The gems have a number on one side, nothing on the other side. So in this carriage, it'd be one of the pouches, one of the loot pouches, and over here they would have 3 gems. So I'll just place those down there just to show you. So you never know what you're going to get until you flip them over at the end of the game. So if you do try to punch another model and they drop their loot, and you pick up their loot, you don't know which one you're going to get. The only numerical token that you do know what you're going to get is this. And this is the $1,000 suitcase of money, which is at the beginning of the train. The train itself, which the sheriff has taken hold of. So it's a bit of a high risk reward to try to get there. Now you can never shoot the sheriff or even defeat the sheriff, but you can control him with cards. So the main aim of the game, when you have your character with its own unique individual ability, is you have a hand of 10 cards, and at the beginning of each turn you randomly pull 6 cards from that hand. So every player has the same icons on their cards. So you have a different picture for each character here, but the symbols are the same. So for example, this one here allows you to move the sheriff one carriage. This one here allows your character to move left or right across the carriages. That one there, fun enough, is shooting. It's fairly obvious. This one here is up or down on the carriages. So you can walk along the roof of the carriages or inside of the carriages. Now there's punch as well. So everybody has the same number of cards, 10 cards, all with the same number of actions. So it's random what cards you're going to pull. So you have a hand of 6 cards and only you can see them. So when you put them down on the table, it will eventually tell a story. So if I had Cheyenne, which if I put the meeple the right way around would be helpful, right? And we have Django and Tuco, they will place their cards in the order left from the dealer. And when you draw your mission card, you have 4 missions in a game. Each mission looks something along the lines of this. So you have 4 missions and then a final stage when you're at the station, which is pretty much the same. It's pretty much the same. Your stop station, your final station. So how the game will play out is, whenever you see this symbol, opponents must place their cards face up so you know what they're going to do. When you see this symbol, however, they're face down. You never know what they're going to play. So, for example, we have Tuco and Cheyenne. So, let's say it's Cheyenne's go first. In this particular mission, we will have the blanks there. So Cheyenne will get to go first. So she decides to shoot. So Cheyenne is taking a shot. Then we'll have Tuco also decides to take a shot. But wait, there's more players. We also have Django. So Django decides he's in the middle of this. Cheyenne has shot. Tuco has shot. Django is going down here. So you don't actually move your characters yet. You put your cards down in a story like this, and then you have another blank, which means once again Cheyenne will have her go. So Cheyenne decides she wants to move down, and we're going to have Tuco, and Tuco is going to move down as well, for example. So we can keep playing. You can have him move down, things like that. But don't actually move the models until they get to the end. In the rounds you have the tunnel, for example, the cards will be placed down, so you never know what your opponent's going to do. So only at the end, when you have played all of the available slots, does the actual scenario play out. So there'd be shot, shot, then you move the model, then you move the sheriff, for example, and things like that. That's how it will play out. So when you put the cards down, initially it's quite simple. It's like keeping your eye on the P when you place them under the cups and you move the cups around. You know where most people are. That's fine. That's okay. It's only when you get to tunnels, or you're playing against Ghost, or with Ghost, who puts his cards in secret, where you don't know where your opponents are going to be. So initially, like, well, we're all lined up in a row. We know where we are. Later on in the game, you don't know. Because of the tunnel, are they down there? Are they up there? Have you shot the wrong person? Have you accidentally moved into the same carriage as the sheriff? When you move into the same carriage as the sheriff, you get a shot card which goes into your deck. So when you draw your hand in the next turn, you will have one less card, probably, knowing me, in your hand because you have been shot by the sheriff. Whenever you're shot by the sheriff, you must then immediately go up onto the roof, which then means you've mucked up the order of play. You thought you were down there, you thought you were safe from getting shot, but now, if this scenario happens and you're getting shot, rather than then shooting each other, you're now in the middle, you're getting shot instead. So whenever you face the sheriff, it really does put a spanner in the works. Not only do you take one of these natural wounds, and wounds mean you have less cards in your deck that you want to play, or whenever you get shot, the opponent that shot you have to give you one of their shot cards, which happens very similar to the sheriff. You put it in your deck, so when you draw your cards next turn, there's a chance that this one will be in your hand, very much like natural shots from the sheriff. But the person who shot the most in the game, and they've expelled more bullets than any other, for example, that's how they start. They start with a full revolver. The person who shot the most gets $1,000. So there's two ways of getting $1,000. The person who shots the most, or the person that has picked this up and ended the game with it. So you could be on the roof with it, you could be underneath with it, but you can never pick it up if the sheriff is in the same room. Because the second you enter the same room as the sheriff, you instantly go back on the roof. So you cannot pick up any loot in that room, for example, or if the sheriff was still over here. You can always shoot the length of the carriage if you're on the roof, but you can never shoot any more than one carriage away if you are actually in the carriages yourself. So it's a very interesting game. You think you know where your opponents are going to be, and then something goes wrong, like the sheriff gets in the way, or you get into a tunnel and you can't see what your opponent's cards are going to be. So it's very much like keeping your eye on those cups when people play those games and you don't know where it's going to be. So keep an eye on what's going to go, because models aren't currently moving when you're placing cards down. It's only at the end of the turn when it all plays out cinematically. So for example, move down, shot, 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 move across. Then you're thinking when you're placing your cards down, you might want to punch that person, for example. It's really, really good. I love the game. Like I said, the game is anywhere from 2 to 6 players. It's apparently 10 up, but I believe younger people can play it. Not a problem. It is rather simple, and it's so fast to set up. All you need is your handful of cards, draw the missions, and place the carriages the same number as there are players. It's that simple. It's only when you're playing it and you have to keep your eye on the ball and know where other meeples are. If it's a 2 meeple game, it's only 2 carriages. It's a lot easier to keep your eye on the ball. You know where you are. You think you know where your opponent's going to be. You think you know where the sheriff's going to be. It's not that bad, right? The more carriages, the more complex it's going to be. There's more cups you've got to keep your eye on, basically. But with 2 carriages, it is quite difficult. With the sheriff, there's a good chance sheriff is going to get in the way. It really is a fantastic game. So at the end of the game, after you've picked up your diamonds or your loot, you turn them over and you see how much gold you got. So you might have, this one's pretty good, $500 for that gem. And your bag of gold there, that could be anywhere from 250, 400, that one's a 500, that one's a good one. So you add them all up and see who's got the most money. If you've got the chest or the suitcase even, there's a good chance that people are going to come after you and try punching you and grabbing that thing as well, or even getting the sheriff on you. So you go back on the roof and then it's a free-for-all. It really is a fantastic game. Lovely illustrations, really super smooth to use, and if you're playing at your local club or something, you really can get through a lot of games in an evening. Plus, you get to play with a trained people How cool is that? Now, I've never seen another game where you can have a train as the board. I love the Old West. I love trains. I love tabletop games. What's there not to like? Be a bandit and play Colt Express. Thank you very much for watching, guys. If you liked the video, please hit that like button. Sorry I rambled on probably a bit more than I should, but I really love this game. It is a lot of fun. Okay.